Maple Crescent looked like a postcard, neat lawns, clean windows, and the sound of children's laughter. Everyone knew everyone, or so they believed. Doors were left unlocked, neighbors waved, and life felt safe. But number 17 was different. Its curtains were always drawn, the house silent and apart. While the street buzzed with life, number 17 seemed frozen, a blank space in the neighborhood's tapestry. People wondered about the man inside, but no one really knew him. The house became a quiet mystery, a puzzle everyone noticed but never solved. What went on behind those heavy curtains? The only clue was the man himself, Arthur Penhaligon. He was as much a mystery as the house he lived in, and his story was about to change everything. The neighbors had their theories. Over garden fences they whispered about Arthur Penhaligon. Poor man, they'd say, so lonely since his wife Eleanor left. They remembered Eleanor's laughter, her sudden disappearance a decade ago. Arthur claimed she'd left in the night, and he seemed devastated. He withdrew, declining invitations and keeping to himself. His solitude was seen as grief, and the neighbors respected his privacy. They pitied him, believing he was trapped in the past. The story of the heartbroken husband became accepted truth. No one questioned it. They offered sad smiles, convinced they understood him. But the truth was far darker than anyone imagined. Their picture of Arthur was built on fragments and assumptions. They never guessed how wrong they were. The real story was hidden, chilling, and nothing like the tale they told. Arthur's secret was safe until it wasn't, and Maple Crescent would never be the same. Arthur Penhaligon moved like a ghost, average, forgettable, always avoiding attention. He left the house only for necessities, never lingering, never chatting. His clothes were plain, his presence barely noticed. Neighbors caught glimpses, a bowed head, a solitary walk at dusk. He was polite but distant, encased in an invisible bubble. The world saw a lonely man, and that suited Arthur perfectly. Their sympathy was his camouflage. He didn't need to invent stories. The neighbors did it for him. No one looked closer, no one asked questions. Arthur's quietness was his shield. He blended into the background, a shadow among bright lives. The assumptions about his grief kept everyone at bay. He let them believe their gentle, tragic story. It was easier than the truth. The real Arthur was hidden in plain sight, and the secret he kept was darker than anyone could imagine. The man in the shadows was not what he seemed. Number 17 was a fortress, its front door always locked. Even for the briefest errand, Arthur secured his home. The heavy burgundy curtains never opened, day or night. The house rejected sunlight, shrouded in perpetual twilight. Inside, dim lamps cast long shadows. The air was thick with dust and a faint chemical sweetness. Silence pressed down, broken only by the ticking clock. This was not peaceful silence, but watchful, waiting. Every locked door and drawn curtain was part of Arthur's careful isolation. He built his sanctuary brick by brick, keeping the world out. The outside world was unpredictable, but inside, he controlled everything. For 10 years, his defenses held. The house was his shield and his prison. No one guessed what he was protecting. The secret was safe, hidden behind the fortress walls, until the day everything changed. It began with a smell, faint, chemical, and unsettling. At first it was easy to dismiss, just another oddity in the air, something that might have drifted in from a distant factory or a neighbor's overzealous cleaning spree, but there was something about it that lingered, something that made people pause and wrinkle their noses searching for the source. Mrs. Gable at number 19 noticed it first while tending her roses. She was proud of her garden, and nothing usually escaped her attention. She thought it was a drain or fertilizer, but the smell lingered. It clung to the morning air, stronger some days than others, never quite fading away. On warm days, it drifted from the direction of number 17, carried by the breeze, through open windows and across neatly trimmed lawns. Neighbors discussed it, speculating about blocked sewers or dead animals. Theories multiplied, each more far-fetched than the last, but no one could pinpoint the cause. The council checked the drains, nothing, no leaks, no blockages, no explanation. The scent was strongest near Arthur's back fence, but nothing seemed amiss. Arthur himself kept to his routines, rarely seen, but always polite. Just an overgrown lawn and a weathered shed. The grass was tall, the shed's paint peeling, but nothing that explained the odor. The smell became part of the house's legend, another oddity to add to the list. Children dared each other to ride past, and adults whispered stories on porches as dusk fell. But this was different. It was unpleasant, impossible to ignore. It crept into homes, clung to curtains, and made people uneasy in their own kitchens. Sympathy for Arthur began to shift to unease. People started crossing the street to avoid his house. Conversations grew hushed when he passed by. The perfect facade of Maple Crescent had a crack. The street's reputation for order and calm was suddenly in question. Something was wrong at number 17. The house seemed to retreat further into itself, its secrets hidden behind drawn curtains and locked doors. The neighbors felt it, even if they couldn't name it. A sense of dread settled over the block, as if everyone was waiting for something to happen. The smell was a warning, a sign of secrets festering behind closed doors. It was a silent alarm, growing louder with every passing day. The street's peace was disturbed, and suspicion began to grow. Maple Crescent was no longer just another quiet street. It was a place of whispered fears and uneasy glances. The truth was closer than anyone realized, waiting just behind the door of number 17. The unraveling began with a burst pipe, a sudden, violent crack that sent water pouring through the ceiling, disrupting the quiet routine of Maple Crescent. Water flooded Mrs. Gable's kitchen, pooling across the tiles and seeping under the door. The source, it turned out, was not her own home, but something hidden inside Arthur's house next door. With no answer at his door, and the water still rising, the police were called to investigate the strange silence. Officers forced entry, stepping into the dim, chemical-scented air. The house felt untouched, as if time itself had stopped inside. The living room was tidy but neglected, dust coating every surface, sunlight barely filtering through heavy curtains. It was a place frozen in routine, yet abandoned by life. They traced the leak, but something else caught their attention. A heavy bolted door at the end of a narrow hallway, oddly out of place in such a quiet home. The bolt was on the outside, as if to keep something, or someone, locked in. They slid it back, opened the door, and were hit by a wave of chemicals and decay, a stench that made their eyes water and their stomachs turn. Their torches revealed a small, windowless room, its walls stained and air thick with neglect. In the center, on a narrow bed, lay a shape beneath a sheet, unmistakably human, unmoving, and alone. The smell was overwhelming, the secret finally exposed after years of speculation and whispered rumors. The officers stepped inside, hearts pounding, every sense on high alert as they realized the gravity of what they'd found. The room was a tomb, frozen in time, with faded wallpaper and untouched belongings, a silent witness to years of isolation. Outside, neighbors gathered, their questions finally answered, but the truth was more disturbing than any of their whispered theories. The reality was more horrifying than anyone could have imagined, sending shockwaves through the close-knit community. The secret of number 17 was finally out, its mystery laid bare for all to see. The house's silence was shattered, replaced by the hum of police radios, and the murmur of stunned voices. Maple Crescent would never be the same again, its peace forever altered by what was found behind that second door. The mystery was solved, but for many, the horror was just beginning to sink in. Arthur's fortress had finally failed, and its secrets could no longer hide from the world. The room was a shrine to the past, every detail preserved as if time itself had been asked to stand still. The faded wallpaper, the gentle sunlight filtering through the curtains, all whispered stories of days long gone. On the bed lay Eleanor, perfectly preserved, her hair fanned on the pillow like a halo. She looked as if she might wake at any moment, but the stillness in the room told another story. She hadn't left. She'd been there all along, a silent presence that lingered in every shadow, in every corner of the room. The room was untouched, a book on the table, clothes folded with care, a glass of water gathering dust. Even the smallest objects seemed to mourn her absence, frozen in time. It was peaceful but grotesque, a bedroom-turned tomb, where love and loss had become inseparable. Arthur had learned embalming from old books, using chemicals to preserve her body with painstaking devotion. He became an alchemist of memory, determined to keep her close, no matter the cost. The smell the neighbors noticed was from these rituals, a faint, unsettling reminder that something unnatural lingered behind closed doors. For 10 years, Arthur lived a double life, one for the world, and one for the woman he could not let go. To the world, he was a grieving widower. Inside, he was never alone. His heart remained tethered to Eleanor, unable to move on. He talked to Eleanor, read to her, kept her close. Every day he acted as if she were still alive, refusing to accept the silence. He refused to let her go, building a fortress to keep her in, shutting out the world and its judgments. The police found his diary, filled with conversations and confessions, pages upon pages of longing, regret, and desperate hope. The truth was chilling. Arthur's love had become obsession, blurring the line between devotion and madness. His secret companion was the heart of his solitude, the reason he could not let go of the past. The house was not just a home, it was a mausoleum, a place where love, loss, and memory were locked away together, forever. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. Police cars and forensic vans filled Maple Crescent. Neighbors gathered, horrified, as their story of the lonely widower crumbled. Arthur was found in the park, calm and resigned. He confessed. Eleanor had died suddenly, and he couldn't let her go. His grief became a secret life, his routine a perfect disguise. The neighbors' assumptions shielded him. No one looked closer. He managed the smell, kept to himself, and let their pity protect his secret. For a decade, he lived among them, devoted to the dead. The signs, the curtains, the smell, the solitude were all part of his deception. The quiet man from number 17 was not what he seemed. The truth was monstrous, hidden in plain sight. The neighbors saw their own blindness. The peace of Maple Crescent was shattered forever. The real story was far darker than anyone could have imagined. Arthur and Eleanor's story became a cautionary tale. Maple Crescent was changed. Suspicion lingered. Neighbors looked at each other differently, wondering what secrets hid behind closed doors. Number 17 was sold, a new family moved in, and laughter returned. But the house remained a reminder, a symbol of hidden darkness. The illusion of safety was gone. Secrets can thrive anywhere, even next door. We build stories to explain what we see, but the truth can be monstrous. The greatest secrets hide in plain sight, protected by our reluctance to look too closely. Arthur's secret festered for a decade, surrounded by people who thought they knew him. The house on Maple Crescent was a chilling reminder. You never truly know what goes on behind closed curtains. Sometimes, the most shocking secrets are right next door. It all happened so fast. One moment, we were arguing. The next, there was only silence. He was shouting, his face red with anger. I shouted back, my voice raw. We stood at the top of the stairs, words like stones between us. He stepped forward, hand raised. I flinched, stepped back. A clumsy movement, he lost his balance. His arms flailed, reaching for something that wasn't there. Then he was gone, tumbling down the wooden steps. The sound, dull, heavy thuds, seemed to go on forever. Then, nothing, just sudden, profound stillness. I stood frozen at the landing, heart pounding. I stared down into the dim hallway below. He lay in a twisted heap, unnaturally still. It didn't look real, like a doll carelessly dropped. I listened for a sound, anything, but the silence was absolute. Cold dread crept through me. Slowly, I made my way down the stairs, each step deliberate. My hand trembled on the banister. Maybe he was just unconscious. Maybe he'd only broken something. I knelt beside him. His eyes were open, vacant. There was no life in them. He was gone. Outside, life continued. Inside, time had stopped. All that remained was this still, silent vessel at the foot of my stairs. My mind raced, a storm of fear and confusion. The logical answer was simple, call for help. But my hand wouldn't move. I was sure they wouldn't believe me. We'd been arguing. The neighbors might have heard. They'd ask questions I couldn't answer. My voice would shake. They'd see my guilt. Even though it was an accident, guilt overwhelmed me. I looked from his still form to the door, then the phone. Each was a choice, a path. One led to sirens, suspicion, a future I couldn't control. The other was dark, unknown, but mine. Panic roared in my ears. I felt trapped. The idea was insane, but it was the only one that gave me control. If I could just hide him, maybe this moment would disappear too. It was the logic of a frightened child. In that moment, I was just a terrified creature with no way out. I had to protect myself. I moved quickly, almost on instinct, but deep down, I knew there was no turning back. The secret began in that moment. Once the decision was made, a cold focus took over. Panic faded, replaced by grim purpose. I went to the garage, found the old tarpaulin. Every sound, plastic rustling, floorboards creaking, felt deafening. I had to be careful, quiet. Wrapping him was the hardest thing I've ever done. I forced myself to think of him as an object, not a person. I rolled him onto the tarp, avoiding his face. Folded the plastic, sealed it with duct tape until he was completely encased. The package was anonymous, impersonal. Where to put him? The attic was too hard to reach, the shed too exposed. Then I remembered the cellar, old, forgotten, beneath the kitchen. The entrance, a trapdoor in the pantry, hidden under a rug. Perfect. Dark. Out of sight. I dragged the package across the floor, muscles straining, lifted the heavy trapdoor, cold air rising up. The darkness below was absolute. With a final effort, I slid the package over the edge. It landed with a sickening thud. I stood there listening to the silence. Then I closed the trapdoor, replaced the rug. The secret was sealed. I sat in the kitchen, numb, staring at the floor. The house felt different, heavier, haunted. I told myself it was over, but I knew it had only begun. The weight of what I'd done pressed down on me. I was alone with my secret. The cellar became his tomb, and my prison. I waited for the world to notice, but the world stayed silent. The first days blurred together, every sound a jolt of terror. I didn't answer calls or open the door. I watched the world from behind curtains, feeling like a ghost. The house was no longer comfort, it was a tomb. I felt his absence in every room. Sleep brought no escape. Dreams replayed the fall, the thud, his vacant eyes. I woke in cold sweats, the silence pressing in. I avoided the hallway, the pantry, the trapdoor. Food had no taste. I went through the motions of living but felt dead inside. I waited for discovery, for the knock that would end it all. Friends called, his family called, asking after him. I lied, said he'd stormed out, I hadn't seen him. The lies came easily, my voice steady. They believed me with each lie. The secret grew more real. It was no longer just a hidden body but a web of deceit. I was isolated, trapped by my own story. The silence was my only companion. The house held its breath, and so did I. Weeks became months. The panic dulled to a constant ache. I returned to work, bought groceries, paid bills. Life insisted on continuing. The house felt like mine again, but changed. The trapdoor was just another landmark, a fact of life. My routines became rigid, comforting in their repetition. I avoided the pantry floor, went to work, came home, spoke to few. Evenings were silent, books, television, nothing else. The outside world felt dangerous. Home, even with its secret, felt safe. Guilt didn't leave. It changed shape, became a heavy cloak I wore always. Sometimes, late at night, I thought of him, the man he was, the arguments, the good times. It was a strange morning, silent and private. I couldn't speak of him to anyone. I held my grief and guilt inside. The secret was a weight in my soul, but I learned to carry it. I became the keeper of the house, and of its secret. The cellar was his tomb, and my burden. I lived in a world of silence and routine. The past was always present, humming beneath my feet. I survived by not thinking too much about what I'd done. Years passed. The world outside changed, but inside, time stood still. I grew older, my hair grayed, but the secret remained. The fear of discovery faded. So much time had passed. The police inquiries went cold. I was safe. The trapdoor became part of the kitchen, unnoticed by rare visitors. Sometimes, they'd stand right on top of him, unaware. The secret became part of me. I couldn't imagine life without it. My isolation was complete. I pushed people away, preferred silence. The house was my sanctuary, and my prison. The presence beneath the floor was my constant companion. It didn't speak or move, but it was always there. In a twisted way, I was no longer alone. We were bound together by a moment of violence, and a lifetime of silence. The memory of the event faded, worn smooth by time. It felt like it happened to someone else, a younger, more foolish man. I was different now, quieter, more cautious. I understood the weight of secrets. I learned to live with a ghost beneath my feet. The house and I aged together, bound by what lay below. The secret was my shadow, always present. I became a man defined by what I hid, and the years slipped quietly by. In winter nights, I'd talk to him, standing in the kitchen, tea cooling in my hands. I'd tell him about my day, complain about work, comment on the weather. It wasn't conversation, just words to break the silence. He was the only one who knew my whole story. Over time, he became less a problem, more a fixture. I found myself protecting him, fixing leaks, maintaining the house. The thought of leaving, of selling, was impossible. We were bound to this place. I tended the garden, painted the walls, cared for the property. I was the caretaker of his tomb. This role gave my life a strange purpose. Sometimes I wondered what was left of him down there. The thought wasn't gruesome, just curiosity. He was becoming part of the house itself, fusing with the foundations. That comforted me. He was the secret heart of the home, hidden in the dark. His presence was a constant, silent hum beneath the floorboards. My life became a series of echoes, the argument replayed in my mind, voices faint and distant. The anger was gone, replaced by loss. I missed the noise, the arguments. The silence was not peaceful, it was absence. Guilt lingered, a quiet hum in everything I did. I watched others live, but I was only an observer. My secret was a wall between me and the world. Sometimes I thought about confession, but I never would. Too much time had passed. The secret was my identity. To confess would destroy the only reality I knew. So I lived with the echoes of his fall, my fear, the life I might have had. My house was full of them, my only companions. The man I was before was gone. I was now defined by the secret I kept in the dark. Today, I see a stranger in the mirror, an old man shaped by solitude and secrets. My life is routines, avoidances, truths I can never speak. The secret is not just something I have, it's who I am. The house and I have grown old together, the rug in the pantry worn over a hard truth. The cellar remains undisturbed, the anchor that holds me here. I am a prisoner of my own making, but also its caretaker. There will be no dramatic ending, just a quiet one. One day, strangers may find the trapdoor, or maybe not. The secret might come to light, or remain sealed in the dark. In a moment of panic, I chose silence over truth. I have lived with that choice every day. The man I am was born at the bottom of a staircase, in the silence after a fall. And he has never left. The house stood on a small hill, hidden by overgrown trees and tangled ivy, its paint long peeled to reveal gray, weathered wood. For 15 years Arthur Finch lived there alone, the sole inhabitant of a house that was more monument than home. Arthur Finch moved through the village like a shadow, always avoiding eyes, always silent. He orchestrated his life to avoid others, his home barricaded by brambles and a crooked "Beware of the Dog" sign. Attempts at kindness, a casserole, a visit from the vicar, were met with silence and a bolted door. Over time, the world learned to leave Arthur alone, his isolation complete and unbroken. The house decayed with Arthur, its roof sagging, wallpaper peeling, and floorboards groaning underfoot. Memories of happier times faded, replaced by a fog of routine and fear, all circling the locked-back bedroom. Shadows grew longer, the house's silence thick with the noise of Arthur's anxious mind. The house was both fortress and prison, its decay a perfect camouflage for the secret it hid. The smell of decay was Arthur's first enemy, a constant reminder of what lay behind the locked door. He waged war with air fresheners, incense, and vinegar, layering scents to mask the truth. The house became saturated with chemicals, the air thick and heavy, the real smell buried beneath. For Arthur, this was the scent of safety, the perfume of a secret kept. The decay persisted, but in the fog of pine and lavender, he could almost pretend it wasn't real. Under the sink, bottles of bleach and disinfectant stood ready for Arthur's weekly ritual. Each bottle, meticulously chosen, had a specific purpose in his grand scheme of cleanliness. The labels, worn and faded, told stories of countless battles fought against grime and germs. Arthur believed that cleanliness was next to godliness, and his arsenal of chemicals was his holy grail. The dark space under the sink was his sanctuary, a place where he could control the chaos of the outside world. He scrubbed the hallway outside the back bedroom obsessively, fighting a losing battle against what was already inside the walls. Each stroke of the brush was a desperate attempt to erase the invisible marks left by time and neglect. The hallway, once a pristine passage, had become a battleground where Arthur waged his war against the unseen enemy. The sound of the brush against the floor was a symphony of determination and despair, echoing through the empty house. The rest of the house was left to filth and neglect, a clever misdirection for any would-be visitor. The living room, with its layers of dust and scattered trash, was a stark contrast to the meticulously cleaned hallway. Arthur knew that the chaos would deter anyone from looking too closely, from discovering the truth hidden beneath the surface. The filth was his shield, a barrier that protected his secrets from prying eyes. Filth and sterility coexisted, the chaos a shield for the order, the dirt a cover for the scrubbing. In the midst of the mess, there were pockets of cleanliness, small sanctuaries where Arthur's obsessive nature had taken over. These clean patches were his way of maintaining control, of asserting his dominance over the chaos. They were a testament to his relentless pursuit of order in a world that seemed determined to descend into disorder. The air itself was a lie, crafted to keep the single terrible truth at bay. The hazy sunlight filtering through the windows illuminated the dust particles, creating an illusion of tranquility. But beneath the surface, the air was thick with secrets, each particle a reminder of the decay that lurked in the shadows. Arthur's meticulous cleaning was a facade, a desperate attempt to mask the reality that he could never truly escape. The house, with its symphony of chemicals and layers of filth, was a reflection of his inner turmoil, a battleground where order and chaos waged an endless war. Loneliness pressed on Arthur like a weight, the silence once a relief, now an ocean in which he drifted. He spoke to himself just to hear a voice, watched life outside his window with desperate longing. Each happy scene was a reminder of his own isolation, a wound that never healed. He yearned for connection, but fear always won. So he chose silence, becoming a ghost in his own life, punished and protected by his solitude. Fear was the architect of Arthur's life, dictating every move, every thought. It was not a sudden visitor, but a constant companion, shaping the very walls of his existence. Each day, Arthur awoke with a tightness in his chest, a silent dread that colored the morning light. He moved through his home, as if walking through a maze of invisible tripwires, every step calculated, every sound magnified. The world outside his door felt impossibly distant, a place where danger lurked in every shadow and every knock could signal the unraveling of everything he had tried so desperately to keep hidden. It wasn't the remains in the back room that haunted him, but the imagined knock on the door, the end of his fragile world. The true terror was not what had already happened, but what might come to pass. Arthur's mind conjured endless scenarios, the echo of footsteps in the hallway, the sharp rap of authority at his door, the faces of strangers peering in with suspicion and accusation. He lived in anticipation of exposure, of the moment when his secret would be dragged into the harsh light and he would be forced to answer for it. The silence of the house was never peaceful. It was a waiting room for disaster. He played out the scene of discovery in his mind, the questions, the judgment, the loss of his solitary freedom. In his imagination, the authorities would arrive with cold efficiency, their voices sharp and unforgiving. Neighbors would gather, whispering, their eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and fear. Arthur saw himself standing in the center of it all, exposed and powerless, every secret laid bare. The shame would be suffocating, the isolation complete. Even in his solitude he rehearsed his answers, tried to justify the choices that had led him here, but the words always failed him. The fear of being known, truly known, was worse than any punishment he could imagine. The fear of the unknown future always outweighed the misery of the present. Arthur's days were marked by a relentless anxiety, a sense that the ground beneath him could give way at any moment. He clung to routine, to the familiar discomfort of his isolation because it was preferable to the chaos that might come. The misery he knew was a small price to pay for the illusion of safety. He convinced himself that as long as he remained vigilant, as long as he kept the world at bay, he could maintain control. But deep down, he knew that fear was the true master, and he was its captive. He was bound to the house and its secret, each year adding another link to the chain. The walls became both his shield and his prison, the secret both his burden and his only companion. Time did not heal or dull the fear, it only made the chains heavier, the escape more impossible. Arthur's world shrank with every passing year, until the house itself seemed to close in around him, the air thick with the weight of what he could never confess. The secret was no longer just in the back room, it was in every corner, every shadow, every breath he took. After 15 years, the chain was unbreakable. Arthur could no longer imagine a life beyond these walls, beyond the fear that had become his only certainty. The world outside was lost to him, and the man he once was had vanished, replaced by a shadow bound by secrets and silence. In the end, it was not the secret itself, but the fear of its discovery that truly imprisoned him. The truth waited in the darkness of the back bedroom, a silent question Arthur never dared answer. Every sound in the house was a whisper of the past, every creak a threat of exposure. The secret was in the walls, a time bomb ticking in the heart of the house. Arthur's life was a desperate attempt to delay the inevitable, to keep the question unasked. The truth was a black hole, pulling his entire world into its silent orbit. Arthur Finch, the man who lived with shadows, kept his silent vigil on the hill. Each evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the world was painted in shades of blue and gray, Arthur would climb the gentle slope, his figure outlined against the dying light. To the casual observer, he was just a solitary man, but to those who watched closely, there was a weight to his presence, a sense that he was not merely enjoying the view, but standing guard over something unseen. The wind would tug at his coat, and the silence around him was thick, broken only by the distant call of a night bird or the rustle of leaves. Arthur's eyes, sharp and searching, scanned the valley below, as if expecting something, or someone to emerge from the gathering gloom. The villagers saw only a dark shape against the sky, a place of rumor and mystery. To them, the old house perched on the hill was a relic of another time, its windows like empty eyes staring down at the village. Children dared each other to approach its crumbling steps, and elders whispered stories of strange lights and muffled voices drifting from its walls at night. No one remembered when the house had last been shaded with laughter or warmth. Instead, it had become a symbol of secrets best left undisturbed, a place where the past lingered like a stubborn shadow. Some said Arthur was a ghost himself, bound to the house by a promise or a curse, while others believed he was simply a lonely man, haunted by memories he could not share. The secret remained safe, the truth hidden in gloom, guarded by a mind clouded with fear and routine. Inside the house, the air was thick with dust and the scent of old wood. Shadows pooled in every corner, stretching across faded wallpaper and creaking floorboards. Arthur moved through the rooms with practiced care, his footsteps muffled by worn rugs. He avoided the mirrors, as if afraid of what he might see reflected there. Each night, he would sit in the same chair, staring into the darkness, his thoughts circling the same unspoken truth. The house seemed to breathe with him, its silence a living thing, pressing in on all sides. The weight of the secret was a constant companion, shaping his days and haunting his dreams. The shadows in the house were long, clinging to the door of the back bedroom, keepers of the unspoken. That door, always closed, was the heart of the mystery. Arthur would pause outside it, his hand hovering over the handle, but he never entered. Sometimes, in the quietest hours, he thought he heard faint whispers from within, a memory, a warning, or perhaps just the house settling into its age. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, the light from the single bulb flickering as if in fear. The secrets behind the door were heavy, and Arthur bore their weight alone, unwilling or unable to let them go. For now, the story has no end. The truth waits, patient in the dark. The house, with its silent rooms and shifting shadows, holds its breath, as if anticipating the moment when the past will finally be revealed. Outside, the world moves on, seasons change, children grow, and the village forgets. But within these walls, time stands still. The secret, whatever it may be, is content to wait, knowing that one day, someone will be brave enough to seek it out. Until then, the darkness is both shield and prison, keeping the truth safe from prying eyes. Until the day the house gives up its secret, Arthur will remain, forever trapped by what he cannot escape. He is both guardian and prisoner, bound to the shadows by a promise made long ago. As the night deepens and the world outside fades to silence, Arthur stands at the window, watching, waiting, hoping that one day the dawn will bring release. But for now, the secrets in the shadows are his alone to bear, and the house on the hill remains a place of mystery, its story unfinished, its truth waiting in the darkness. On the morning of January 29, 2026, Maple Creek awoke to a day that would change everything. The sun barely crested the horizon, casting a pale, uncertain light over the quiet streets. It was the kind of morning where the world feels suspended, as if holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The quiet was broken by a single phone call, a neighbor worried about Mrs. Gable, unseen for weeks. Her absence had become a shadow over the block, whispered about in hushed tones. But now concern had turned to fear. 2 police constables arrived at number 12, a bungalow with perfect roses and an unsettling silence. The house, always so well kept, now seemed to repel them, its windows blank and unwelcoming. No answer at the door. The air felt heavy, wrong. Each second stretched, the silence growing more oppressive as the officers exchanged uneasy glances. After peering through curtained windows, they forced entry. The curtains, drawn tight, hid whatever secrets lay within. But the officers knew they could wait no longer. The lock snapped, echoing down the empty street. It was a sound that seemed to mark the end of innocence for Maple Creek, a sharp break in the morning calm. Inside, a strange, cloying odor greeted them, a mix of decay and disinfectant. It was a smell that clung to the walls, thick and inescapable, instantly setting nerves on edge. The house was spotless, almost unnaturally so. No personal touches, just dust covers and polished floors. It felt less like a home and more like a stage, set for something no one wanted to witness. The smell grew stronger as they approached the back bedroom. Every step down the hallway was a step deeper into dread, the sense of foreboding mounting with each footfall. The door was closed. A constable hesitated, then turned the knob. The moment seemed to stretch, the world narrowing to the sound of the latch turning. What they found inside would haunt them forever. The sight was so unexpected, so horrific, that even seasoned officers recoiled in shock. The source of the odor was clear, a scene of horror beyond words. The room was frozen in time, every detail a testament to something terrible that had happened behind closed doors. The secret of number 12 was finally exposed. The house that had blended so seamlessly into the neighborhood now stood apart, marked by tragedy. The welfare check had become a homicide investigation. Detectives arrived, their faces grim as the reality of the situation set in. The silence of the house was shattered, revealing the darkness hidden within. Light filtered through the windows, illuminating secrets that had festered in the shadows for far too long. Maple Creek's peaceful facade was gone in an instant. Neighbors gathered in small, anxious clusters, their faces pale with disbelief as police activity swirled around them. The constables, hardened by years on the force, stood frozen in disbelief. Nothing in their experience had prepared them for what they had just witnessed. The quiet little bungalow had concealed a nightmare. Its unassuming exterior now masked a story that would haunt the town for years to come. The investigation had only just begun, but the community would never be the same. Whispers of fear and speculation spread quickly, as everyone wondered how such darkness could have taken root so close to home. The secret behind the door was out, and its impact would ripple far beyond Maple Creek. News vans arrived, reporters eager to uncover every detail as the story began to spread beyond the town's borders. The darkness that festered behind closed doors had finally come to light. In the days to come, Maple Creek would struggle to understand, to heal, and to reclaim its sense of safety, but the memory of that morning would linger, a reminder that even the quietest streets can hide the deepest secrets. The house itself became the first witness, its walls saturated with secrets. Forensic teams moved with quiet precision, uncovering clues in every corner. The spotless floors hinted at a desperate attempt to erase evidence. Behind a bookshelf, newer wallpaper concealed dark stains. Signs of violence. Hidden, not erased. The garden told its own story. Freshly turned earth near the old oak, a clumsy burial spot. Personal items, hastily discarded, surfaced in the soil. The absence of photographs and personal trinkets spoke volumes. A life systematically erased. The house was not a home, but a tomb, curated to mislead. The perpetrator tried to silence the house, but it remembered everything. Every detail painted a picture of fear, violence, and a desperate cover-up. Now, the house whispered its chilling tale to those who would listen. The investigation quickly focused on Arthur Gable, the victim's son. Detectives pieced together a timeline, and inconsistencies in Arthur's story began to surface. His calm demeanor only deepened their suspicions, as if he was hiding something beneath the surface. Arthur, a quiet man in his late 50s, was known for his solitude and routine. He rarely spoke to anyone, preferring the company of books and long, silent walks. To most, he was a fixture in the background. Unremarkable. Almost invisible. He told neighbors his mother was visiting relatives, but suspicion grew. Whispers spread through Maple Creek, and people began to watch Arthur more closely, wondering what secrets he might be keeping. Police found him at his usual library table, calm and resigned. He didn't run or protest, simply closed his book and looked up as if he'd been expecting them all along. There was no struggle, just a quiet surrender. The library's silence was broken only by the soft footsteps of the officers as they led Arthur away, leaving behind a stunned audience. In the interrogation room, Arthur's composure began to crack, the weight of the investigation pressed down on him, and the mask he wore started to slip. At first, he was silent, hands folded, eyes distant. He stared at the table, lost in thought, refusing to meet anyone's gaze. Detectives laid out the evidence, the smell, the cleaned floors, the garden. Each detail chipped away at his defenses, forcing him to confront the truth he'd tried to bury. Arthur finally spoke, a tired confession of resentment and a final argument gone too far. His voice trembled as he described the moment everything changed. He described years of feeling trapped, suffocated by his mother's demands. The pressure had built up over decades until it finally erupted in a single, irreversible act. The confession was quiet, almost detached. It was as if Arthur was recounting someone else's story, unable to fully accept what he had done. He recounted the night's events as if watching from afar. His words painted a picture of isolation, regret, and a life spent in the shadows. The man who had been a shadow was finally exposed. For the first time, the community saw the pain and turmoil that had been hidden behind Arthur's quiet exterior. His story was more tragic and more terrifying than anyone in Maple Creek could have imagined. The town was left to grapple with the reality that darkness can exist even in the most unassuming places. The truth was out, and the community would never see him the same way again. Arthur Gable, once invisible, had become the face of a tragedy that would haunt Maple Creek for years to come. Arthur's confession revealed decades of quiet desperation, a life lived in the shadows of his own home. He never left home, his world shrinking to the role of caregiver, a duty that consumed his every waking moment. Their relationship was one of control and resentment, not love. The constant friction wore them both down, leaving scars that never healed. The final argument was trivial, but it unleashed years of suppressed anger, a torrent of emotions that had been bottled up for far too long. Arthur claimed it was a moment of madness, but the evidence suggested calculation. His actions were methodical, almost ritualistic. He cleaned, lied, and erased his mother's presence, trying to reclaim his life. Each act of erasure was a step towards a freedom he desperately sought. For weeks, he lived with the secret, maintaining a facade of normalcy. He went through the motions, but inside, he was unraveling. The weight of guilt haunted him every night. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by endless hours of torment. He became a prisoner in his own home, tormented by what he'd done. The walls that once offered shelter now felt like a cage. His act for freedom only built a new prison, one of guilt and fear. The liberation he sought was an illusion, replaced by a deeper confinement. Arthur's story was not of a monster, but a flawed man making a monstrous choice. His hands, once gentle, now bore the weight of his actions. The violence was born from years of suffering, not evil. It was a tragic end to a life filled with unspoken pain and unfulfilled dreams. In seeking escape, he trapped himself more completely than ever. The isolation he felt was now absolute, a haunting reminder of his irreversible actions. News of the crime at number 12 spread like wildfire. Maple Creek was stunned. Arthur, the quiet librarian, a killer. Disbelief gave way to unease. The community's trust was shattered. The crime exposed the darkness that could hide behind any door. Neighbors replayed every interaction, searching for missed signs. The local pub fell silent. The library felt violated. Parents held their children closer. Suspicion replaced safety. The crime stole more than a life. It stole the community's innocence. Maple Creek learned that you never truly know your neighbors. The quiet streets now felt menacing, forever changed. In the aftermath, residents became amateur detectives, piecing together missed clues. Mrs. Gable's sudden absence should have raised alarms, but Arthur's simple explanation sufficed. No one wanted to pry. Politeness became the perfect cover for his lie. Late-night gardening, the smell of bleach, small oddities dismissed as quirks. Each was a missed opportunity, a puzzle piece ignored. People see what they want to see. A caring son, a tidy house. The mind seeks normalcy, not darkness. To suspect murder is almost unthinkable. The signs were there, hidden in plain sight. The community's respect for privacy allowed the secret to grow. The truth was veiled by assumptions and silence. The warning signs glowed only in hindsight. The cost of ignoring them was devastating. Arthur's double life exacted a terrible toll. By day he was the librarian, by night the keeper of a ghastly secret. Guilt is corrosive, twisting every thought and action. Every interaction became a performance, every smile a lie. The fear of discovery was constant, a prison of his own making. His obsessive cleaning was a futile attempt to erase the memory. Guilt cannot be washed away. It festers. Sometimes the burden becomes unbearable, creating a subconscious desire to be caught. Arthur's calm at arrest may have been relief, the end of torment. His story reminds us, the line between ordinary and criminal can be a single terrible moment. Guilt in the end is its own punishment. Secrets are part of being human, but some grow monstrous. Arthur's secret demanded constant vigilance, warping his reality. His solitude and routine shielded the truth from others. The community's respect for privacy became an unwitting accomplice. Fear drove him to hide the crime, delaying the inevitable. Secrets warp everything, isolating and poisoning relationships. Arthur became a stranger, lost in his own deception. The anatomy of a secret, it begins with an act, survives by devouring truth, and eventually consumes the keeper. In Maple Creek, one secret destroyed a man, and a community's peace. The cost of silence was immeasurable. The story of Arthur Gable will haunt Maple Creek for years. The house may change hands, but its shadow remains. The real tragedy was the years of silence before the crime. Unspoken truths festered until they exploded. We trust in surfaces, the neat lawn, the polite nod. But sometimes, darkness hides behind them. The lesson: look beyond the surface. Notice when silence is too deep. A secret kept too long gains power, shattering lives and communities. The echoes of number 12 remind us, respect closed doors, but never ignore the truth. Sometimes, the most terrifying sound is silence itself.